Hi, my name is Donna, and this is the second video that I'm making about leaving the cult that was started by Marie Weiss. And I need to talk about my part in the cult. Some people have brought this up, and I also posted things on Kevin's website in years past concerning the same kind of things, but I need to talk about my part in the wrong that was done by this cult and my part as a teacher. I was considered to be a teacher through much of the 36 years that I was in this cult. I was part of the problem. I knocked on thousands of doors to invite people to this Bible study. I taught Bible studies. I taught people that they were on their way to hell, that there was only one church and this was it. I adamantly believed the things that I was taught by this cult. And so I went about and believed that it was my responsibility to take this gospel out, which, as it says in Galatians 1:6, it's not another gospel, but these would pervert the gospel of Christ, and I was part of that. To explain a little bit about this, the very first time I remember so specifically when I was given responsibility to teach somebody else. I remember the building. It was in Des Moines. It was the Miller Music Building down on Keogh. I remember the teacher who told me to go ahead and teach this very young Christian, they referred to him as babes, about something that was a breaking of their rules. And I remember the feeling when I was told, go ahead and teach those things for this young one that was not following the teaching. And I was 19 or 20 years old, and all I knew is I was trying to be like these people. I was trying to follow what I saw very faithfully. And at this time in this cult, they always made a huge deal, and they probably still do, about kids masturbating, and toddlers, and even very little kids. And they never chalk something up to just something that kids do out of curiosity or anything like that. But they always made a huge deal out of it. And so that was part of what I went to this I didn't go to her, I taught in a class about what I saw with this young babe and her toddler. I could tell you the name of this Christian. I could tell you her son's name. That's how vividly I remember it. But the whole thing comes down to is I let them feed my pride. I let them feed my pride because I wanted to be like them. And over time, you realized in this group that if you want to be somebody in this cult, in this group, you had to be a teacher. And all through the years, I had my ups and downs. I had responsibility taken away many times because of breaking of their rules. I was disfellowship withdrawn from twice over their rules. They were both later determined to be unscriptural because the rules changed again. But so I had my ups and downs. I was a teacher and I wasn't, and I was a teacher and I wasn't. That's how things go. If you're pleasing the higher ups, then you get to have responsibility. If you mess up, and especially if you speak against their teaching, then you don't have responsibility. It's like I know of one Christian in the congregation in Des Moines who very faithfully studies and has very good spiritual understanding. And whenever he brings up points about scripture, the exegesis that he considers it to be different than what has always been taught, then, all of a sudden he's not teaching anymore. But so, with some of my history, my husband and I went to 3 different states to help different congregations all over the years. That was what we gave up our life for. And so in 3 different states and Iowa, I took part in withdrawing from people that never should have been withdrawn from. Now that I know that the teachings were false, I helped sit down and question people about their sin, and I passed judgments on people that were unmerciful. Pride and man-pleasing causes you to do things that's totally out of your character. So yes, I was guilty of oppression. I was not kind to people at times. My mission was to please my teachers and preachers and counselors, and I tried to be like one particular woman teacher in particular, until the church passed a judgment to mark and avoid her. But as the years went on and I matured and I started to open my eyes to the preferring that takes place in this group, I started going through a journey that would help me to leave this cult. I was sat down, that's the term they use when your responsibility is taken away. And I had time to focus on me, and this time I took that to heart. I took it that, I was going to live my Christianity, and I was going to study for me and me only, because when you're teaching in this cult, you're teaching and you're studying for everybody else. You think about all the situations that need taught on, and that's what you're teaching on. So, I had more time to focus on me, and I started to humble myself, and God was humbling me. Just that I was nobody. I was not more important than anyone else. Just like it says in Philippians, esteem no man above yourself. No, that's not how it goes. Don't esteem yourself above anyone else. But so, in the last couple of years in the cult, I started to voice things that I saw with different eyes. Because my heart was humbled, I started to look at things very differently. And so I started to voice things that I saw with fellow teachers that I determined in my mind that they were wrong. But these fellow teachers were favored with the top woman counselor in the cult and with the evangelist. And so every time I tried to address wrong that I saw, it was turned around to make me the one that had some kind of sin in my life that would make me think such things against favored ones. And so, I pretty much gave up on wanting anything to do with teaching responsibility, because I saw the preferring that took place over and over again. And the last time that I tried to voice something was when a teacher tried to shut down a business meeting, not giving the whole congregation a chance to make their decision. And so I took it to him, and it didn't go well. It was turned around on me. And so I didn't want any more teaching responsibility. My heart had changed, and like I said, God was working some things in me. But just before I left, I was asked to go with a preacher to talk with a brother who wasn't growing spiritually as they thought he should. The only reason I was asked because the older preferred teacher was sick that evening. And so we met with this so-called weak one, and I sat down to talk with him, with this preacher, but I sat down to talk with him with a different heart. I knew this brother for a long time. And all I said was, "What can we do to help you?" And he opened up with concerns about this favorite teacher and the treatment that she treated him with. And this brother later fell away, thank goodness. But my point being is that after we were done with this conversation and it was just myself and the preacher there, the preacher commented to me, he said, "I have never heard another teacher talk with another Christian the way that you just did." And what he meant and what he was saying was with genuine concern. I didn't go in to accuse him. I went in to offer our assistance, to see how we could help. And my heart was glad. My heart was glad when this preacher said that. And I didn't want any more part in the oppression and the humiliation that this cult practiced towards its very own brothers and sisters. And so at that point, all it took was one more straw that broke the camel's back, and I left and never looked back and have never regretted that decision. I've repented of the wrong that I've done towards so many brothers and sisters. I've confessed to those that I could. But Stanton churches will not read my confessions before the congregation like they normally do, because I'm not attending, for one thing, and because I'm not going to counsel with them to let them tell me that I'm not ready to make my confessions, because that's their practice. They'll determine whether you are ready to make your confessions before a congregation and whether you have repented enough in their eyes. And so I have no intention of ever going back. I did post confessions on Kevin's blog that are still there, that I posted a few years ago. I did a lot of damage, and I've had to learn to forgive myself and accept God's forgiveness in this. And you can't see what you're doing until you're on the outside looking in. You really can't. People that leave, that are thinking of leaving, they just need to leave, and they'll understand more when they're on the outside looking in. And I'm very sorry for those that I've hurt, and I pray that you will forgive me. And I pray for your prayers. Pray that you'll pray for me as I continue the journey that I have begun, only being 4 years outside of this cult. And I guess that's all I want to say right now. Please forgive me.